Hi, everyone. It's great to have you on the call tonight. Uh, Before we get started, I do not want to forget to mention that I am working with LSP from an order that I started for a convention. And if you are interested in buying a case of books, that's 9 books um, of the Essential Oil Desk Reference, or you want to get some pocket desk references, I can get them at a great price for those of you who want to buy them in at least 9 or 10 of them at a time. So contact me tonight, send me an email, or actually better yet a text, and let me know, because I'm going to be finalizing that order tomorrow morning. And so that'll be available for you guys, and there's shipping on top of it, but it's a great price. So just get in touch with me if you're interested in that, okay? And I do this from time to time, so I can put you on the list for the future too if you can't do it right now. But tonight I'm very excited to talk about the Melissa harvest, which I attended, and this is a picture of the field where we were harvesting the Melissa on this picture here. Now, early this morning, I loaded the PowerPoint for this presentation into Fuse, but for some reason, even though it took a long time to load, it did not show up in my list. So I'm going to have to do it a little more archaic way, and that is I'm going to share my screen, my desktop, and I'm going to show you the presentation that way, because it takes quite a while, at least an hour, to upload this, and when I sat down 30 minutes ago, I realized that it hadn't loaded. So you'll still be able to see it. I think I can actually maybe make it even, let me see if I can do it from this way. So that way you can still see me. And I can still see the chat, so if somebody has a question, whoops, I'll have to redo that. If somebody has this question during it, there we go. I can answer those as well. So let's see if I can make this work. So it's very exciting because the farm that we own in St. Mary's, Idaho, which is one of 10 farms that we own now, and that number is growing every day, is really sacred because it's surrounded by Native American land. It's a reservation, and a beautiful lake is just a few miles away from the farm. So this is a picture I took on the way to the airport on the last day, right from the car, and it was just a mile or so from the farm. It's in the mountains. The elevation there is much higher than Austin, Texas, where I live, and one of the things I was experiencing was a little bit of elevation or altitude sickness, I think, because I believe the farm is it's 6,000 feet elevation, and here in Austin we have 450 feet elevation, so it's quite a difference. But this was, the moment I got to the farm, I could feel that there was a very, very special energy there. My whole being just settled into the energy of this land. And Gary says that he really received divine intervention to get this farm. He didn't tell us the details, but Gary has many amazing stories like that he shares about different experiences in his life that were really beyond what would be expected in the situation. Sometimes it doesn't seem like somebody would get a piece of land or for a certain price, and somehow forces come together and make it possible. So this was Gary's first farm that he purchased in the early 1990s, and he had this vision back then, and everybody thought he was crazy to produce essential oils and have farms all over the world. And as we see today, he's really manifested that dream. And that's really what tonight's talk is about, is besides learning about the seed to seal process, I'm going to talk about building your own dream and how to do that and how to manifest things in your life. So this is a picture of the lavender field at the farm. There used to be a lot more lavender at the farm, and you can still purchase online St. Mary's lavender. versus the regular lavender. And St. Mary's lavender costs more money, but it has a much higher level of linalool acetate in it. And as Dickie Opfer, another Young Living, I think she's a Crown or Royal Crown Diamond, says that she has much more profound experiences when she uses St. Mary's lavender, especially to fall asleep at night or experience deep relaxation and calm the nervous system, that she really prefers the St. Mary's lavender. So I've been purchasing it and I really love it. It is more expensive, but I think it's really worth it. So if you haven't tried that, I encourage you to try that, because right now the farm in St. Mary's is shifting from being purely a lavender farm or experimenting with things to becoming a true Melissa farm. The intention at the farm is actually to shift from these beautiful lavender fields. You see in the background how there's plowed land. All of that is going to become Melissa. And they're only going to keep a small plot of lavender that they're going to use when they have Silver Club, which is actually coming up this weekend. Some of the distributors in our team are actually already at the the St. Mary's Lavender Days, because Gary wanted some help at the distillery. So he contacted certain distributors. One of our distributors from San Antonio, who's a silver, Lorraine Cummins, went early to participate in the harvesting of the lavender. So this is a special time at this farm for Silver Club. You get to go for free. They pay for your airfare, your lodging. They're being put up this year at the finest hotel in Spokane, Washington, and then a bus to the farm one day, and one day they get to go on a whitewater rafting trip, which is really a lot of fun on the St. Joe River, which is a very unique river. I think it's one where a lot of people come from all over the world, either for fishing or rafting, I'm not sure what, but that's a special experience at the farm, as well as experiencing the whole seed to seal process with lavender. There's a lot of plants that get distilled at this farm. There's Idaho tansy, which I participated in that harvest last fall, and that's wildcrafted. And then sometimes they've done white fir there because they've harvested some of the trees on the farm for that. And they also get byproducts of the logging industry and sometimes distill some of those oils like juniper or cedar. And in the past, we've distilled balsam fir there. And now we don't distill balsam fir anymore there. We're doing that at the Highland Flats farm. So this one is really kind of going to become the Melissa farm, because Melissa, you know, is a very valuable oil. It costs $150 for a 5 milliliter bottle, and at the moment it's offline. It doesn't even list as a single oil. So it's in many of our blends, and one of the blends that you can still get that has a large amount of Melissa in it is Hope oil. And so this blend has the Melissa, which is a very special oil because it's known to be excellent for deep depression. When you feel despair, like there's just no hope, you can't go on, Melissa can really bring you out of that. And the way Hope oil is usually applied is on the top of the ears. There's a point there that when you activate that, it affects the brain chemistry. And so you just rub it on the top of the ears, and you could even stimulate them a little bit with your fingertips if you want. So if you haven't tried that oil, that's another good oil to try. And one of the reasons we're out of stock of things like the Reconnect kit and the Freedom kit, the PTSD kit, the trauma kits, is because they have blends in them that include Melissa oil. And as you're going to see, it takes a huge amount of Melissa oil to produce a very small amount of essential oil. And as we got to the farm, this is where most people stayed. There's great little cabins there. There was also some tents. Some people brought their own RVs. There's RV hookups there. And I actually wanted to rough it, and I brought my own tent. And I put it up across the road, and I was just surrounded by the pine trees there. And at night, I could look out my tent and see the full moon and the hills with the Melissa, with the pine trees in the background, kind of this view here, and it was just incredible. It was a very precious experience for me to get to sleep outside in the tent and experience that energy. This is the farm manager, Kevin, and he's doing a really great job. He's really committed to the farm and making it the world's largest Melissa farm. And I do believe that after we planted this with this group of people, these are the distributors that were there for the harvest. There's about 27 or 28 of us, and we worked really hard for a week. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we did during that week, but it was work that makes you feel really satisfied that you've used your body and connected with the land, connected with the plants, and felt the special energy of the place. And you feel really rewarded when you go away having done that kind of work. So you see these large pine trees in the background. I'm just looking to see, I believe the house where Gary stays, yes, is off here to the right. That's Gary's place. And then right in the center, this green roof that's there, that is the lodge where we ate our meals. There's showers in there where you can shower, both men and women. And it's really amazing because they had all the amenities in the bathrooms. They had lavender soap, they had toothpaste, they had lotion, and they had shampoo and cream rinse in the shower and bath gel. So we really felt like kings and queens. Everything was available to us. They had a washer and dryer we could use to wash our clothes, and the meals were just wonderful. So this is the first day when Kevin is kind of giving us the lay of the land and telling us a little bit about how the week's going to go. And this is Sherry Ross, who then, after Kevin talked, she shared a little bit about Melissa oil, which is known as lemon balm or balm mint, and it's called by some the elixir of life because it cushions the effects of the world and our own thinking on the body. So it helps us be more easy in our body. And that's really truly what I experienced. I sunk into being really in my body and not being in my head while I was there, and I really brought that energy back with me. The other thing is that Melissa is a very, very feminine plant, and she's very picky. So the way the growing conditions make a difference, how she thrives, the way it's harvested makes a difference, how much oil is produced. And so being there, I really felt like I could kind of sink into my feminine energy more, which was lovely because I've been a single mom for a long time. And I really enjoyed that experience of sinking into that feminine energy of Melissa. Melissa is also a really strong antihistamine, and so it's great for allergies, although there are some oils that are less expensive that you can use for allergies, like lavender. Some people find peppermint is also beneficial because it opens up the nasal passageways and helps you breathe more easily. And lavender actually calms down that inflammatory response that histamines create, and so it reduces inflammation and just calms down the whole functioning of the body when you're having an allergic reaction. Another oil that's really good as an antihistamine is Roman chamomile. That is useful also, and there are others that you can use as well. I believe even balsam fir is beneficial, but the ones I've mentioned are most commonly used. So in general, any kind of inflammatory condition, it's really good for that. And it strengthens the liver. It cleanses the liver. So that's useful for any kind of physical condition and even emotional conditions. Once you cleanse the liver, it helps those be more easeful in the body, and it helps move your emotions so you can come into balance. It's also probably one of the best tonics for the nervous system. So any kind of nervous system issues, which, PTSD and trauma would be in that category, Melissa is really good for that. That's why it's in a lot of the blends that Gary has created recently, because both the Reconnect kit and the Freedom kit speak to those issues of strengthening the nervous system, balancing the nervous system. And so Melissa is an important ingredient in those blends. The other thing that Melissa is really good for is it's a strong antiviral oil. And it's probably the best antiviral oil we have. And one of the things it's especially good for is herpes, any kind of herpes, 1 or 2. It can be really useful for that because herpes lives in the nerve endings. So if you have a virus that's in the nerve endings and you have an oil that's really top notch for both those things, it's going to target a virus that's in the nerve endings. That could also include shingles. And I've already talked about it being great for depression, and it really does bring out the gentleness in people. And it was such a sweet time at this harvest because of the energy of the plants we were around, and it brought out that sweetness in the group. And it was just such a wonderful feeling amongst the entire group there during the whole week. And Melissa has a frequency of about 102 megahertz. So, it's a pretty high frequency. Our body is usually around 50 to, it varies depending on how high your frequency is, but it could go as high as maybe 80, but most people aren't going to be that high. They're probably going to be more in the 70s when they're really humming at their highest level. This is a picture of the lavender plants that are being grown in the greenhouse. They also had a lot of Melissa plants they were growing, and just this aspect of growing plants is unbelievably labor intensive because you plant these tiny little seeds in a big flat, and then you have to transfer them to individual pots and then to bigger pots, and then you have to harden them off, and all that takes several months. So just that part alone is labor intensive, but that's just part of it. So then this is us taking and loading up a lot of the Melissa plants so that we can plant them in the fields. And here's our upline, Jim Harding. That's Vaughn Harding's husband and her son, Dallas Harding, who's a platinum in Young Living. They were at the harvest also. And this is some equipment that Gary built that loads up all the plants so we can plant them. So here we are. We've planted 50,000 plants in this field the first day, and it was hot. You can see the soil there was dry, and as soon as we planted the plants, they got watered because it was very dry. And we really got to experience putting those plants in and learning how to plant them properly, and the work that goes into that. And then the next day at Melissa Harvest, we had a great breakfast. We had einkorn pancakes with Barry Young syrup. We had turkey bacon. You can see my sleek tea over here in the cup. And we had an omelet and some oatmeal that had raisins and wolfberries in it. So it was a great breakfast because we were working hard. And then we went back out and they talked to us about how you have to test the Brix level in order to harvest. This is an important part of the seed to seal process that Young Living does, because when you're harvesting, if you don't harvest at the right time, the oil will be down in the roots of the plant instead of in the leaves, and the Brix level is is an indication that the essential oil is up into the leaves instead of down in the roots. So when we first got there, the Brix level was only 4 or 5, and that's not high enough to actually harvest the leaves. So we were told that Melissa responds really well to singing and talking to it, walking through the fields and giving the plants love. So we really did that. We really put some energy into spending time in these Melissa fields and doing that. This is us, again, the second morning. After spending a little time in the morning talking to the plants, we were back over here in a new field planting more plants. And you can see us here. We would drop them in the holes, and then people would come along behind and actually put the soil around them. And just some quick images of that. And this is the little device that Gary invented that digs the holes in the soil. And then these are the plants that we're dropping into those holes that have been dug and then planting them. So again, this is Kevin after lunch telling us that now we've got to do some weeding because we can't harvest if we don't have all the weeds out of the plants, because that will affect the scent and the chemical makeup of the plants if there's milk thistle or ragweed in there. So because those plants also have oil. So we had to go through with hose and actually hoe out the weeds, which was pretty intense. It's hot out there. It was like in the 80s. And the sun is high elevation, so it's very high. This is a picture of us giving some loving attention to the plants to see if we can get the Brix level up. And so this is a gorgeous field with this was and we did actually have some success. She had a beautiful German voice and sang to the plants, and after we sang to the plants and really saw that could feel that energy rising, we hoed for a while, and then we took the Brix level. So while we were hoeing, we had a special treat. Gary came out and hoed with us. He's a hard worker. It's amazing. You can see how we've dug up all these weeds here. And then we had to come along and pick them up with a wheelbarrow so they wouldn't go into the harvesting machine. And here's Joseph, Gary's youngest son, hoeing with us. And I have to tell you that Joseph is a real powerhouse. And if you're really ever worried about the future of Young Living in the coming years, these two boys, both Joseph and his older brother Jacob, are really being groomed to be the owners of this company. And every day when Joseph would pray at breakfast time, uh, he would actually, it was amazing because he would at the end of every prayer say, and when I'm running this company, it's going to be a $40 billion company. Well, right now I think we're at half to $1 billion in sales. So we're talking about him growing this company by 40 times what it is now. And he's definitely has the willpower and intention to do that. It's quite impressive. So again, here's a picture of them weeding and hoeing with us, and a picture of me with Dallas and Jim taking a short break in the middle of hoeing. And then the third day, when we had to plant again, so we were really concerned at this point that we weren't going to get to actually harvest the Melissa because we didn't know if the Brix level was going to get high enough. But we had to pick the rocks out of this field and then do some more planting. And you can see it's a beautiful surrounding. And here we then were excited because we were testing the Brix level, and it had gone up. It was about 8 at this the day before, and now when when this is a girl who works in the distillery, when she tested the Brix level and showed us how that's done, she would put plant material into this device she's holding in her hand, and then she would take a refractometer and squeeze some of the juice from the plant material into the refractometer and test the Brix level. And we were so excited because it had gone up to about 11 or 14. And I really think that those plants have a deep connection with Gary Young because it was after he showed up that we really got the Brix level high enough that we could harvest. So we were super excited about this. This is Ilka looking through the device to see what the Brix level is. And Gary's checking it also to see what the Brix level is. This is something very unique to Young Living, that we're testing the Brix level and making sure that it's high enough for harvest. And here we are starting to harvest in the field. You can't see the harvester on this side of the truck, but you'll see it in the next picture here. This is the way just the way you would harvest wheat. This cuts the Melissa plants, and you can see here in the center they've already been cut. And on the right side there, where he's cutting them, and then they're going through this conveyor belt into the truck. So it's really amazing to have an opportunity to be in that truck, but it's also hard work. And then we had to go through the field because the plant material is so precious. And when any plant material dropped on the ground, we had to make sure that we picked it up. So you can see we're out there with a wheelbarrow picking up the extra Melissa that's fallen on the ground because it's so valuable. And there's he's picking it up by hand right there, and so are they. So this is something that happens often at the farm. The original machinery here, this device broke down. One of the belts stopped working because a pin broke, and they had to figure out where they could get another one quickly. So they were on the internet looking and found early the next morning a place where they could get that equipment rebuilt. But in the meantime, it was evening of the third day, and we really wanted to collect enough plant material so we could start harvesting the next day. So Gary got out an older tractor, and it was much more archaic. He had tied behind it and underneath it a huge tarp. And it was getting to be dark, as you can see. It's dusk in this picture. And so we all agreed we would come out and work through the night, through the evening, till about 10 o'clock, to actually hold this tarp, because it has to be held by hand so that the plant material can collect in it. And you can see here it's getting full and starting to get darker and darker. And we're collecting the plant material, and then it's even nighttime, and Dallas and another person are here shoveling it back from the front of the machine toward the back where the tarp is, so that we can collect enough plant material. And then after we did that, we hauled it over to the distillery, and we had to unload it, and it's dark by this time, and we're spreading it out at the distillery so it can dry, so that we can start distilling on day 4. But in the morning, we were still collecting more plant material and making sure that we had enough plant material for the first day of the harvest. And this is already day 4. We only have one more day to go. So we're harvesting more plant material, and I loved this experience of being in the truck. Can you imagine being in a truck full of Melissa and feeling that sweet, gentle energy of this plant surrounding you? It was really a special time. Here we are at the distillery spreading out the plant material, because they found that when they do this, it actually increases the Brix level. To just stress it just a little bit, you can't dry it out too much, or it loses all of the ability to produce oil. It's a very delicate timing with this. So it gets spread out briefly until the Brix level rises, and then you can see in the background are the giant cookers. They're like giant pressure cookers that distill the oil. And here we are testing the Brix level again to make sure. You see this device to the left and that kind of strip, that's where they sprinkle the liquid that comes out of this equipment. And then we were very excited to see that the Brix level was up to 18, even 22 at times, and that means we were going to get more production of oil. And so we got to learn all about how you test for Brix level. One of the ladies there said she had her own refractometer, and that she actually tests all the food she eats, because you can tell by the Brix level whether you have a good quality of food that's free of toxins, because the more toxins in food, the less the Brix level is going to be lower. She said the highest thing she's ever tested for Brix level was Ningxia Red. It's very high in healthy sugars and good things for you. So if you want to play around with that, you can order one of those refractometers off the internet. And here you can see we're opening up the steam valves, preparing for distillation, making sure we're cleaning out the cookers so that they will have a clean distillation. And here you can see Gary holding the hydraulic equipment that pulls in the center. You can see at the center of this cooker there's a hook, and this lid is so heavy that they have to use a hydraulic equipment to lift it off of the cooker and move it over to the side. And we actually had a problem with that device also. It broke, and we had to get an electrician out there to fix that. And that is just common in farm. Anytime I've been to a harvest, that happens. Equipment breaks down, they have to fix it, it slows down the process. Farming is a very labor-intensive process. And when you experience it firsthand, you understand why our oils cost what they do. Because we do not cut corners to save money in the production of oils. We do everything like weeding by hand so that we don't have chemicals in them. We don't have weeds in our oils. I don't know of any other company that does that. It's very unique to Young Living. This is the bottom of the cooker. You can see it's very deep. It's much deeper than it looks on the surface here. It goes down underground and it to a lower level. And these pipes at the bottom are what send the steam through the plant material once you load it. Here they are loading the cooker, and it's, you know, what a wonderful, fun experience. Gary's taking this little bobcat and putting that plant material into that cooker, and in between we're all stamping that down so that it's really well packed, so that the steam doesn't fracture the plant material if there's air holes in the way the cooker's loaded. And you have to turn around and protect yourself when he dumps in the plant material so you don't get it in your face or your eyes or anything. And it was kind of a fun time. So that was a great picture showing that. And then you have to kind of spread it around. And here we are, we've got the cooker packed, and we're about ready to put the lid on it. And this is after the cooker's been, after it's distilled the plant material. This is the empty, the compressed plant material after the oil's been taken out of it, and it's loaded with this hydraulic lift into the truck. It's very heavy at this point. And so day 5 we got to experience another harvest, and this is us on the way back with another load of plant material, and I'm just enjoying a moment in the truck when we're on our way back to the distillery, being in the middle of all that Melissa plant material. And this is the boiler. This is what produces the steam. And we have a very unique process of producing steam that does not require chemicals. And yet we don't build up with minerals in the pipes because of the technology that Gary has created that lets the steam be mineral free, so that we don't have to use any chemicals in this process. And here the steam is going through the plant material. And once it goes through the plant material, it comes out this top, what's called a swan neck, and it goes down this column. And down below, this shows the pipes that are putting the steam into the bottom of that large cooker. And up here at the top of the screen is the bottom of the condenser. That's what runs cold water through it and turns the steam back into water and essential oils. And that gets hooked up right here to this thing, and then this one doesn't have all the equipment on it. So that's the condenser that's turning the steam back into water and essential oil. And here you can see really well, the condenser pours that into this funnel here, and it collects in this separator. And the oil rises to the top of the separator. And this is a really special moment to be there in the distillery experiencing this process. Here you can see the Melissa oil starting to collect in there in the separator. And as it rises up, it creates bubbles in the floral water, and it rises up to the top. And when there's enough in there, then this plate that's in the top of the separator gets pulled down and actually allows the oil to go through the top middle of that plate. There's a hole, and it collects in a large tank. So it's really amazing because it takes 2 huge truckloads of Melissa plant material to fill one 10,000-gallon cooker, and it takes about 2 hours to distill that cooker and produce Melissa oil, and one cooker only produces 1 quart of Melissa essential oil. So you can imagine why the price is so expensive, because in that same cooker will produce 2.5 gallons of lavender oil. So it costs $150 for one 5 milliliter bottle of Melissa oil in comparison to $23 for a 15 milliliter bottle of lavender essential oil. And hopefully this will give you a better understanding why this is true, because Melissa just takes so much plant material to produce that 1 quart of oil. This is actually a picture I took last fall of tansy oil, but the same is true. That's a quart jar, and that would be the equivalent of one entire production of Melissa oil. This is what some of the people did when they didn't want to be out in the field. They were replanting the lavender plants and getting them ready to harden off so they could be planted in the fields. And so they were having fun doing that. And this is a picture of, you know, now online Royal Hawaiian Sandalwood has come online, and if you haven't noticed that, it's $95 for a, I believe, 5 milliliter bottle of Royal Hawaiian Sandalwood, and that comes from our farm in Hawaii. We're the only people who are now producing sandalwood oil in Hawaii, and it is expensive because it takes a lot of plant material to produce this oil as well. And this is the wonderful experience we had at night. We have a little spa next to the distillery. And at night, after you've had a hard day's work, you get to go soak in the hot tubs that are filled with floral water. Melissa floral water, pine floral water, and it's very healing and very relaxing. There's also a little room there with a massage table where anybody can go in and give raindrop to someone else while you're there at the farm. So this is a special treat you get to experience during being at the farm. These are the tanks underneath the spa and the distillery that hold the floral water. The floral water is very healing in its own, and one of the special treats of being at a harvest is that you get to drink some of the floral water. And I got to bring home a liter of Melissa floral water, and I've been drinking a couple tablespoons every day because it's so healing for the body. So in the distillery, it talks about how life isn't measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take our breath away. And this is really my experience of the Melissa harvest, is that it was really an experience that took my breath away. It was so special. And the other harvests I've been at have been really special as well. But the Melissa, with the feminine energy of that plant, was really special for me. So in the evening, we got to experience classes. And the first day, or one of the days, Sherry Ross talked about how to give a horse a raindrop, and she is so talented at this. If you ever have an opportunity to learn this from her or Google her online, you may find her information about how to do that online. She's very good at that. And then another thing we did is we got to experience how to make soap with essential oils, and we got to bring home 2 bars of soap that were made with Idaho balsam fir oil. So that was another wonderful experience. This was the recipe. It's dangerous to work with lye, so if you haven't ever done that, you have to be really careful. But this was the recipe we had for making soap, and the oils that we were told were really, great for doing that are peppermint and geranium and balsam fir are some of them that are stronger and really hold their scent when you make soap. And then Gary gave us a very special talk one night, I think it was Wednesday night, about building your dream, which is a talk he gave at convention, but this talk was even more personal because Gary was with a small group, and he always seems to come out even with more interesting information when he's in a small group. So some of these things you saw when you were at the convention, if you were there. Gary talked about when he was a young boy. This is a picture of Gary when he was a young boy. He dreamed of going to Canada and homesteading a ranch on the Canadian frontier. And in 1967, when he was probably only 16, well, let's see, maybe he was 17 years old, he moved to Canada, and he homesteaded 320 acres way in the northern part of British Columbia, 30 miles into the wilderness, and he started a logging business there as well. And it was during that time, before that, that he started this dream. He actually, I didn't know this until this talk, that he actually experienced at age 16 being blind for a couple of months, 3 months, because he was welding and he seared his optic nerves. And it was during this time that Gary actually experienced the beginnings of developing his ability to dream, because the only thing he had left when he couldn't see is what he could dream about within his own mind. And so he learned that inside his own mind he could experience anything. He could dream about anything. It could be whatever world he wanted to create. And so that created a huge ability in Gary to see things in his mind's eye and feel them with passion. And then from that, he was able to manifest many things in his life. One of them was that when he lived as a young boy in a 30 by 30-foot cabin with his siblings and his parents, 8 people lived in this small space, he dreamed about living in a bigger house. And now he lives in a 18,000 square foot home. And of course, he has electricity and running water that he didn't have when he was a young boy. So this is a wonderful experience. Sometimes Gary teaches leaders classes at his home. So if you have a desire to dream that, that could be part of your dream, to go to see Gary's home and experience that. In 1973 is when Gary had his near-fatal logging accident that left him in a wheelchair. And it took him 13 years to learn how to walk again completely. He suffered a lot of pain during those years, but he always had the dream that he would be able to walk. And he experienced that when we've been stripped of everything, that's when we really see what matters. That's when you really have to call upon God to really be at your side and depend on Him for helping you manifest what you want in your life. And learning that it doesn't come just from your own will and your own ego. Real manifestation comes from dreaming and then putting your trust in God and being a partner with God to manifest things in your life. So God said that when you do this, He will always give, or Gary said that he's found that God will always give you more back than you lost if you stay in the space of dreaming and believing and never doubting that God can help you fulfill your dreams. So one of the things you have to do is have the freedom. You have the freedom to choose anything you want to dream about, but you want to make sure you're dreaming the right dream. You want to make sure that you're dreaming in the right way. And I'm not going to go through all these different ways, types of dreams you can have, but the one that Gary talked about as being the most important is creative dreams and also daydreaming. So creative dreams happen at night, from the way you fall asleep at night. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then I'm going to also talk about the importance of daydreaming, or really being connected to your dreams when you're awake during the daytime also. Those are the 2 powerful ways. So Gary actually asked everybody in the room that night if they could see themselves as a crown diamond or a royal crown diamond. And I shared with him, yes, I could see myself as a crown diamond. That was no problem. But I could feel that. But when Gary asked, can you see yourself as a royal crown diamond, I actually said, no, I couldn't. So Gary actually made me the focal point of his talk from that moment on, and I was really in the hot seat. And later people told me that they were really grateful to have that experience because they saw that if I could do it, anybody could achieve the level of diamond, crown diamond, or royal crown diamond. And I guess I should feel good about that, but it makes me realize, hey, I'm just an ordinary person. I'm not anything special. And it's really through my ability to dream and my ability to break through my limitations that have gotten me to where I am. And that's true for any of you. You can all have the ability to break through whatever limitations you're going through. I had to do this at every level, from silver to gold. Wasn't so hard, but then when I had to get to platinum, that took some work. I had to actually really go through a huge transformation of learning more about how to be a professional network marketer, learning how to talk about the business, learning how to help people build a business. That was a skill I had to learn in that transition from gold to platinum. And from platinum to diamond, I had to go through a new level of growth where I had to believe in myself more. I had to really the blessing of having Vaughn Harding mentor me through that process. And I think it's really her attention on me that helped me actually achieve that through and also my own ability to manifest in amazing ways people who became silver very quickly during that year. It was shocking. And I had that happen with both platinum and diamond, that when I really set in my mind that I was going to achieve that goal, even though it seemed absolutely impossible at the moment I set that goal, that during that year that I went through that process of holding to that dream, I actually had unexpected things happen that I could have never created on my own. And it was because I truly believed in that power of God to manifest things. If I worked as a partner and believed, that I manifested them. But what came forth that night in that meeting was that I actually could not see myself as a Royal Crown Diamond. It brought up a lot of things in me that I realized I had to work through. So Gary, bless his heart, that night talked to us about what to do, and I did that. So what he said is that we need to use Dreamcatcher and put it on our pillow. This is an oil that we all have available to us. It's not out of stock. You can buy Dreamcatcher, and that when you use frankincense on your temples and your crown, the top of your head, and Dreamcatcher on your pillow, the frankincense will go deep within your DNA and RNA, and it will empower you to dream, fulfill your dreams, because you do that right before you go to sleep. And whatever you dream right before you go to sleep and think about right before you go to sleep, you usually dream about during the night. So this is a very, very important process to do. So before I went to bed that night, I actually spent some time thinking about how could I connect to a passionate place that I could feel truly excited about being a Royal Crown Diamond. And what I found was that when I thought about being Royal Crown Diamond, it just seemed like it was a huge amount of work, because I have a sales volume right now of almost $50,000, but I need to double that to get to Crown Diamond. That seems totally doable. But to make it $1.5 million a month in sales volume, that's what it takes to be a Royal Crown Diamond. That seemed like a lot of work. So the way that I realized that I could get myself beyond this and feel really excited and know that this was possible is by helping all of you become diamonds. And if I have 8 diamonds or 10 diamonds in my downline, and through supporting my team to do that, I will automatically become a Royal Crown Diamond. So as I sat that night in my tent applying these oils, along with some others that Gary told us to use that I'm going to talk about in a minute, I wrote down that I could see myself sitting on a porch in the mountains like I was experiencing there, because I was feeling a very deep heart connection to that land and those trees and the mountains and the fresh air. So I saw myself sitting in a rocking chair, feeling the happiness of having been to convention and already have received my Royal Crown Diamond Award. I could see myself with that fulfillment of having achieved that. And you have to feel a vision that you really can connect with on a deep emotional level, so that you know it in your mind, you feel it with the passion of your heart, and you can truly believe in it. So I saw myself sitting there with the satisfaction of all the people who had walked across the stage as silver, gold, platinum, and diamond in my team, and that I was enjoying the satisfaction that I was now living the life that I wanted to live. I was happy in the life that I wanted to live, and I was so happy that I had helped all of those in my team achieve their goals as well. And when I did this, I really felt excited about being a Royal Crown Diamond in a way that I hadn't before. But remember that when you use the oils and you open up those neural pathways, your ability to believe and your excitement to be connected in your heart is much, much stronger. So remember, frankincense on the temples and the top of the head, Dreamcatcher on your pillow, and then Gary started to talk about some of the kits, the new kits, and how we could use those along with these oils that I've just described to you. So I'm going to talk about the Reconnect kit, and then I'm going to talk about using the Build Your Dream oil, because that's available, even though the Reconnect kit isn't available. So I'll share what he told us about that, because that we don't have a date when that's going to be available. It might be another month or so before it's available. But he said that post-traumatic stress disorder and autism are very similar, because they're both situations where the right and left hemispheres of your brain are not connected. And this is also true for young babies. Babies also find that their brains, their right and left hemispheres aren't connected. And so um, the Build Your Dream oil is not available, you're saying now? Huh. Okay, it was. I just got some very recently. So I think you can still get it. I was just online today, and it seems to be available in the box. You can still get it with the box, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But right now I'm going to talk a little bit about the Reconnect kit, because we were told at convention it was for uh, autism, but actually it's very, very beneficial for building your dreams as well. So Gary talked about how the minute you shut down, even subconsciously, you shut down your ability to manifest, and you shut down your ability to dream. So he talked about another oil that we have to use, and that's forgiveness oil. And that's available right now as well. So you have to forgive yourself for doubting and not believing. So I did that night before I wrote and shared with you what I just told you I did. I used a forgiveness oil, I used the dream catcher, and then I used the frankincense oil. And so this is what I did. I actually added in Reconnect oil because Gary shared with us that this was important for connecting our right and left hemispheres of the brain. And the way that you do this, I'm going to show you, because you can see here there's several oils that we use that are available and in stock. So I'll read through this first, and then I'm going to show you by opening up my screen so you can see me. Or actually, I can probably do that right now. Let me just, oops. Let me first see. I think I can do it this way. So if I can put my video on, I think it'll show, hopefully it'll show both. Okay. Maybe it won't because I'm sharing my screen, so I don't know if it'll show the video. So if you can just imagine, I really would like to show you this. So I think I'm going to go back here, and I guess I have to stop screen share for a minute or pause, and let's see if it'll let me do video now. Well, it shows that the video camera is on, so maybe you guys can see me and I don't know it. I guess I can't quite figure that technology out. Let's see if I can figure it out here. Oh, here. No, that's okay. So I'm gonna, okay, so here I am. Can you see me now? I guess the lighting isn't very good. I don't have real good lighting on me right now because it's getting dark here in the evening. But hopefully if you can see me, what I want to show you is the way you use the oil, like is you take the oil, drop it in your hand, 1 to 3 drops. I'm using frankincense at the moment. Do 3 clockwise circles like this in your hand, and then you take that oil, and if you're right-handed, you start at your left temple and you do 3 clockwise circles there, and then you slide it across your forehead to do 3 clockwise circles on the other temple. And you can do that a couple times, 2 or 3 times. 3 is usually our magic number. You do like that, and that starts to help connect up the right and left hemispheres of the brain. He suggested we use Reconnect oil, but since you don't have that available right now, I'm going to suggest you use frankincense for that. Okay? You're going to do that, and then, of course, you always want to breathe in the oils as well. Okay? And then we're going to apply an oil right on the back of the neck, back here at the brainstem. So also, if you're left-handed, you're going to go the opposite way. You're going to go from the left side to the right side instead of the way I showed you. Okay? So now let's go back and let me continue sharing my desktop with you here. So you can see I may have lost my place. Yep, good, here we are. Okay, so after you apply the Reconnect or the frankincense on your forehead and your temples, and you've got Dreamcatcher on your pillow, you want to breathe in Believe oil, which is a blend that we have available. Most of you are familiar with that. That was this theme of last year's convention. And the year before that was transformation. So We also have transformation oil available, and you want to put that on the top of your head and the back of your neck. And if you're having trouble accepting your dream or believing it's possible, you want to use acceptance also, which is another blend that we have easily available right now. And you can diffuse that, or you can apply it on your heart. Is a good place to apply acceptance oil and breathe that in as well. And then when you're in that open state, that's when I wrote my intention that I just shared with you. Okay? And Mary Young got up and she said, I just want you to understand that when Gary has a vision, when he has a dream, he sees the whole idea already complete in his mind with all the details of it, as if it already exists, as if it's already happened. He can see it in such detail that he can draw blueprints of it. And I think his ability to do this was probably really developed to some extent when he was blind for 90 days, when he was 16. And then when he couldn't walk for several years. Remember, he sat in a wheelchair or in a bed, and he had to dream about what he wanted his life to be when he couldn't actually do the things he wanted to do. So he spent a lot of time dreaming and developing this ability. And he's so intent at it now. I mean, when he has an idea, Mary shared how he actually, there's just no turning back. Oh, you couldn't see me, I guess, when I was showing you. I'm sorry. I just noticed in the chat that you couldn't see me when I was doing that. So would you like me to repeat that before I go on? Let me just go off the video again. Let's see, where do I have? Share screen. Let me stop that. Let me go back here. And maybe I can, I don't know if I can get this on. So can you guys just type and let me know if you can see the top of my, see me well now. Okay, if you just let me know, yes, it's good. Okay, so what I was doing is applying the oil in my hand like this with the 3 clockwise circles. And if you can see that, maybe I need to be a little lower, I don't know. You know, can you see that? Okay. Can you see it when it's higher? Does it need to be high? We don't see your chin. Okay, that's okay. You don't need to see my chin. But can you see up here? So you do the 3 clockwise circles like this, and then you take that's on your fingertips and you apply first. If you're right-handed, you're going to start on your left temple and do 3 circles. And just if you can type in that you can see this, someone, that'll be great, so I can make sure you can see it. And then you're going to slide your fingers over your forehead, and you can then rub 3 clockwise circles on the right temple. If you're left-handed, you're going to do the opposite way. You're going to do 3 clockwise circles on the right side first, and then slide over to this side and do 3 clockwise circles here. And that's going to connect up your right and left hemispheres of your brain. So that's an important technique to know how to do. And when you're applying oil on the brainstem, you're applying it at the very back of your neck. Hopefully you guys can see this, right in that soft spot at the base of your skull. So those of you who couldn't see that the first time, I just wanted to make sure you could see that because I had in the chat that you couldn't see that. Okay, so now let's go back. We'll stop the camera and we'll go back to screen share. And I believe, there we go. I'm getting this down. So this idea of being able to really feel the excitement of actually something already being complete is an important part of how Gary manifests things. And this is something that's also important to do with children, to connect up their right and left hemispheres. And this is something that is done with autistic children and people with PTSD, because they definitely are having trouble with their right and left hemispheres not functioning together. So the techniques that we're talking about for manifesting your dreams are the same techniques that we can use with children that are autistic or people that have suffered any kind of trauma. It doesn't have to be post-traumatic stress disorder. It can be getting a divorce, experiencing a death in your family, breaking up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, losing a job, anything that's traumatic. You can use these techniques to help you get through it, okay? And let me just take a look here. Gary talked about how when he used this technique with an autistic child who was 9 years old, she spoke for the first time in her life. They know language, but they just haven't been able to have their circuitry wired up to be able to express it. So we learned at convention that there were many experiences that autistic children had, where they were able to begin to function in amazing ways that they'd never been able to experience before when they started to use oils in these ways. You can also put oils on your big toe, which relates to your inner brain, or your thumbs. Your thumbs are another place. Just massaging all of your thumb with oils and activating that is a wonderful way to also use them. And actually, I'm going to go off again for just a second because I want to show you one other thing with the thumbs. I think it's important for you to see this. So I'm sorry I'm going back and forth, but I think it's worth it for you to see that when you're doing this with the thumbs, if you want to activate the thumbs, let's see here. It didn't start. Okay. Come on, camera. Here we go. So if you can see my thumb, you can put the oil on the thumb and you can VitaFlex it. So if you're working with someone else, just make sure your fingernails are short and you filed them at a, you don't want them to have a sharp corner like that. You want to file them so they're beveled at an angle and they won't hurt so much, especially if you're working on children. Autistic children aren't going to be able to express that they're uncomfortable. So you can VitaFlex that in to activate the brain. And this is also a great technique, this one, for if you have headaches or a lot of problems with headaches. You can go through oil after oil in the Everyday Oils kit even, and you're going to find one is going to take away your headache. You'll be amazed because there's a lot of reasons we get headaches, and this technique will help with that, okay? So you can even just milk it like this. I've seen Gary do this with both thumbs at the same time. I can't do it on myself with both thumbs, but if you're doing somebody else, you can do both at the same time with oils on your hand, and that will stimulate the brain as well. And then putting oils on the big toe. If you have trouble sleeping at night, I encourage you to take St. Mary's Lavender because it's stronger, or Rutavala, and rub it on your big toe and massage it in at night. And if you do that every day for 2 or 3 months, you're going to find your whole body settles into a calmer mode of functioning that stays with you throughout the day and evening and allows you to sleep really well at night. Okay? So now we're going to just stop the camera and go back to the desktop so we can continue on. So now what you want to do is write your dream. And if you use that whole process that I just went through with you, I don't know if you guys had time to write it down. You probably didn't. So I guess it would be useful for me to type that up. And when I post this webinar, I'll try to post an attachment that has those main points in it. So you'll have those and you can just download them. And Gabby, since you're on, I'm going to ask you to download this onto aromaclasses.com so it'll be available for people. Okay? And this is the Reconnect kit that I was talking about. So in this kit we have the Reconnect oil, the Sleepy Time, which helps you sleep at night, In Touch oil, and also Genius oil. And Gary talked a little bit about each of these oils and how to use them for, really reconnecting up the right and left hemispheres of the brain and also promoting higher self-worth and helping you stay on task. So the Reconnect blend, it has sacred frankincense, galbanum, white angelica, lavender, and also caprylic triglycerides. And that means fractionated coconut oil. It's another way to say that. And so Reconnect helps reconnect the right and left hemispheres, like I said. And then the next oil he talked about was In Touch. And this oil puts you in touch with reality. So if you're having trouble being in reality, this blend will really help you with that. Okay? And so that's a valuable oil to use. And then Genius is really good for better thinking. It really helps you be able to function and do several things at once, so you can kind of multitask a little bit easier. And also, I'm just flipping through my notes here to get to the point where it talks about it. It's also good for just better focus. It helps you focus more. So if you have ADD or something like that, this oil would be an interesting one for you to try as well. And the sleepy time is for children, obviously, to get deeper sleep, but adults can certainly use it as well. And then I think that's all the oils that are in the Reconnect kit. So before I go and talk about Build Your Dream, which is we're gonna finish up with, I want to really talk just for a second about Aroma Ease, because at convention there was no discussion about what it was for. And so I asked Gary while we were at the harvest, what is Aroma Ease for? So he shared with us that Aroma Ease is really for nausea. And it was created because a lot of people, there were hospitals that were asking for a blend that they could use when people came out of surgery and were nauseous, or they came out of chemotherapy and they were nauseous. So this was inspired by the University of Utah Oncology Department. They had a connection with Jared Turner, and they asked for this. So they said that was their biggest concern at the hospital, was how to deal with post-surgical nausea and cancer patients that had nausea. So this oil people found was extremely effective for this, and that everybody found benefit from it. So you can also use it for even like when you're pregnant and you're nauseous, for morning sickness and things like that, or you're just feeling an upset stomach. I actually had a little bit of nausea at the harvest, and I don't know if it was from altitude sickness or from sunstroke, because both of them were possible. But this oil really got rid of my nausea. The second morning I was there, I rubbed it on my stomach, and I put some in water, and, or actually I think I put it under my tongue. And then I drank a lot of mineral essence with sleek tea and Ningxia Red, and that really got me through that. Okay. So the other thing we experienced at there was, we had a very special experience of Gary Young presenting to us the hearing technique, which he doesn't really talk about anymore, and the technique you can do when somebody's got a weak heart or a heart attack. And I'm not going to go through that technique right now, but these are the oils he used. He used helichrysum around the ear, not dropping it directly in the ear, but just putting some on your finger and rubbing it around inside, and you use a Vitaflex technique with that. And then purification oil on the eustachian tube. And then Valor, if you have TMJ, you can rub that on. Or if you don't have Valor, I would use a combination of blue spruce and frankincense oil together. You can use that. Okay? And then we used Aroma Life with the heart technique. And the heart technique you use by stimulating a point just above the elbow and on the thumb, and you alternate those points. So I'm going to show that in another evening, because that one I'm going to have to go on the camera again to show you. So if you guys ask me again, we'll do that in a future class. Because I want to take a few minutes here, and before I get into Build Your Dream, I want to talk to you about the Seed to Seal vision that Young Living has, because this is really, really important. Gary Young talked to us at the harvest about what's going on in Young Living in terms of buying more and more farms, planning for being able to produce more and more oil because we're growing. And if we don't produce it, it's not available. And, as time goes on, it's really important to understand that other companies are not seeing this far into the future. They're not ensuring the future of their supply by producing their own and creating farms to do that. So I'm just looking here for a minute to see. Oh. Okay, yeah, they're going to make this available in Spanish. That's what they're saying. So Gary talked with us about all the farms that Young Living is in the process of buying. And while the week that we were there at the Melissa harvest, Young Living actually completed the purchase of a new farm in Fort Nelson, British Columbia. That's way up here where the star is in the northeastern corner of British Columbia. It's very near the Alaskan Highway, and evidently there's some beautiful tourist sites around there. And that farm has lots of black spruce trees. Remember, that's one of the missing ingredients in Valor. So Young Living is working hard to ensure that we have a large supply of black spruce available, and we'll never go through what we've been going through this year. We'll also produce Canyza oil there, which is the most beneficial oil for balancing the pituitary gland and healing like dwarfism or any kind of weakness in the pituitary gland. That is the oil that is used in Ultra Young, and that may be why it's out of stock right now, because of that oil. And then we will also be able to produce goldenrod there and ledum oil. Ledum is really great for the liver and the thyroid. And goldenrod is really great for increasing microcirculation, especially in the genital area, but also in the chest and the lungs as well. Okay, so this is really exciting because we'll have a new farm in British Columbia, and that is going to be Young Living's highest priority, to get a distillery built there so we can be producing oil there very quickly. Young Living is also looking at a farm in Quebec, so that we'll be able to produce more black spruce and, very exciting, birch oil. So hopefully that is not confirmed yet that we have that farm, but that's in the process, because if we can bring back birch, we'll really probably be the only company in the world that will have true birch essential oil. And because no one else produces birch oil right now, it's not in production. Then in Europe, we have several things going on. We already have our 2 farms, the one in France that produces lavender and lavandin and clary sage, and of course einkorn wheat there. And then in Spain, we're looking to purchase a farm where we can produce thyme oil. And Gary is looking at Croatia and Serbia for producing helichrysum oil. We need more farms there because we are not really keeping up with the supply we need of helichrysums. So he's going to probably traveling there even now to be taking a look at that. And then you see down below at the tip of Africa is where Tunisia is, and Morocco. So I think the next one shows you, oh, it's a little bit cut off. It's at the top of the screen here. So at the very tip up here at the top is Tunisia, and then off here just north of Algeria, or west of Algeria, is Morocco. Both of those places produce blue tansy oil, so we're looking at buying farms there for blue tansy. And then we also, remember, have farms in, we have our farm in Somalia where we produce frankincense, Fariana, and Karteri. And we have Oman where we're producing sacred frankincense and myrrh. And actually, I don't have a star for the farm we have in Israel where we're producing micromeria. So we have these farms. And then, of course, in South America, we've got Ecuador, where we produce many oils. Peru will have a growing number of oils as that gets established this year. And that's another priority for Young Living. And then Brazil, where we have Copaiba. And then we also have in Australia, well, we have the 3 farms in the U.S., and we have a farm in Hawaii now. And we have farms in China and Australia as well. So I don't have pictures of those, but now what I want to do is I really want you to see with this seed to seal process, if you can understand, I'll be doing more about this and showing you the difference in oil qualities, that we are the only ones in the world that have our farms that are ensuring that we'll always have a good production of pure oils, and we won't have to adulterate them to have enough to extend them so we can produce more bottles of oil. And if you really understand this, you will understand why over time we will increasingly have much, much purer oils than anybody else, because they won't be able to keep up with the demand, the supply and demand for pure oils. So now what I want to do, I guess I'm going backwards, is I want to switch gears here. Give me a second here, and I'm going to go back to, oh, I guess I have to go off of screen share. And I'm going to go to a short little, another little thing that I've got. Okay, so this is about the Build Your Dream oil, because I did this because as of earlier today, it was online, it was available, and I thought I wanted you to understand that this is also a great oil for using in building your dreams and really manifesting what you want. I love the smell of this oil. If you go to any of the introductory talks that are around the country, the one they just had in Austin, they had this oil for sale. But if you buy it as part of the special kit, you get this wonderful box that's part of the 20-year celebration box. And I love this box because you can store oils in it. You can see it's a wooden box where you can keep 16 oils, and you get this wonderful pin. You get a booklet that you can see in the back here that talks about how to use the oils for building your dreams. And you get the Build Your Dream blend, which has some very interesting oils. It's got oils from all over the world: lavender, sacred frankincense, melissa, blue cypress, hong quai from Taiwan, Idaho blue spruce, lang lang, and look at this, blue lotus. That's a very, very special oil that in ancient Egypt was only allowed to be used by the royalty because it was believed that blue lotus was the oil that when anointed on your forehead and your crown, would make you at one with God, and you would become God's representative on earth. So no one but the king and queen were allowed to use blue and white lotus. And usually the king used blue lotus and the queen used white lotus. And it also contains the blends of Dreamcatcher and Believe in here. So if you want to kind of combine it all into one and not buy Believe and Dreamcatcher, you can just buy Build Your Dream, and you have those energies in this blend right from the start. And this isn't a very good picture. I'll have to improve this, but this shows all the oil farms from around the world where the oils in this blend come from. So this oil is interesting in the respect that you're actually bringing energies from all over the planet together in this oil, and you're using this in, like, again, I said, you can use this, breathe it in, apply it across your forehead the way you would reconnect or frankincense. You can apply it on your brain stem. You can diffuse it. You can put it on your heart. So you can use this in many, many ways. And if you don't have one of the other oils, you can substitute this one even on your pillow at night if you want, because it's got the dream catcher in there. And use this to build your dreams. So Gary talked about what this oil does is it reconnects you with your authentic self, with who you're really meant to be, because it's hard to believe in a dream and follow it through if it's not really aligned with your core purpose of what you're here to do on this planet and what your real passions are. So one of the talks we had at convention was done by John Maxwell, and he talked about this idea of building your dream, and he actually has a book for sale that's about making sure you've got the right dream and not living someone else's dream. So this is something to look at. And if you feel that you may not be on course with what you really think your dream is, or that you may not have the right dream, I encourage you to Google John Maxwell and get his book that's connected with building, with following your correct dream. Okay? So that's it for tonight. If anybody has any questions and you want to either raise your flag, or if you want to ask, just in the chat, I'm happy to do that, okay? So just let me know. And I'll give you a moment. Let's see here. Anybody have a question about anything? We've covered a lot of information tonight. And so if you don't have a question now and you have one later, you can always feel free to contact me. And I won't be giving a talk next Tuesday morning because I am in the middle of a big push to pack up everything in my apartment and move it back to my house. As many of you know, I've been temporarily living in an apartment since January. And I've got a few snags going on at my house because for some reason the surface on my floor is not right. So they're having to come in this week and refinish the floor the brand new floor they've put on. So I'm having to deal with that and kind of work around that to make this move happen. And so if you guys can bear with me this week while I'm kind of dealing with all this, I decided it's just too difficult to have a meeting next week because it's the last day I have to be cleaning this apartment and being moved out of this apartment by then. And then I'm going to have to be settling back into where my house is. So yeah, so Build Your Dream is available in the U.S. Maybe it's not available in other countries, but it is available here in the U.S. Thanks, Cindy, for letting us know that. And then I will hopefully be back on track. What would the date for that be? I think it's the 9th of August. I will, let's see, 5 plus 7 is actually 12. So I guess the 5th is next Tuesday, and the 12th would be the next time I will do a morning meeting. And for those of you who are interested, I'm going to also probably in September start doing some Facebook events. Somebody's sharing with me that they really want me to do that, so I'll start doing those and continue doing the webinars. And then also, we'll add that in, and I'm also looking at doing Google Hangouts and getting familiar with that technology as well. So we've got a lot going on, and I look forward to just continuing working with everybody and helping you guys build your dreams and help them come true. That's my wish for all of you this year. And I know there's a lot of you that are working on being diamonds, and I want to hold that vision for all of you. So anybody that's working on that as their goal, I really would request that you send me a photograph of yourself, a written statement of what your dream is, and also what is your love language. I also would like to know that so that I can support you in building your dream. Okay? Have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you again on August 12th. Okay? Take care, everybody, and good night.